Word last week. Yeah? Good stuff. He's my buddy. We go way back. We go back about 15 years, and it's just been a blessing to have him and his family kind of investing in us. And so thanks for ministering the word last week. Right. Yeah. All right, so today we are at Psalm 127. So we've been going through a series of Psalms that's intended to help us climb out of a low point in life. These last 2 years have been hard on all of us, on a lot of us, and so this is designed for us to get some ascent, to come out of a low point. Okay, and so we have been studying these 15 Psalms, and today we're on Psalm 8. Okay, so we're about midway through, halfway up the trail. And anytime that you're halfway, it's kind of like, you're committed to this thing. You've gone too far to go back. And so, but you might be getting a little tired. So we just went to Yellowstone, as you might know, last week, and it's about a 12-hour journey.
Wow.
12 hours. That's a long trip. I like to take, maybe... I went to college about 5 hours away from home, so that's a long trip to me, 5 hours. But 12 hours, you get about halfway, you're like, oh, that was long. And I still, one way. Yeah. And so, round trip is 24 hours on the road. And then you get to Yellowstone, it's a lot of driving there, too.
Yes.
So we put about 2,150 miles on our car just over the last week or so. But you get about halfway on the journey, it's like, oh, that took a long time. And so there's no turning back. And so we had to make some adjustments. Get out of the car, stretch, fill up our water bottles, fill up the gas tank, right?
Fill up your bellies.
Adjust your seat. And so it's a time when you're about halfway in, you got to make some adjustments. And it's interesting that this psalm here is halfway in to our ascent to Jerusalem. Right? This is what the children of Israel did on several times a year. Anytime there was an annual festival, they would march up to Jerusalem. And so this is our ascent. And once we get to Jerusalem, I think we're going to get into the book of Acts. And we're going to go from there into the fall. Because we're going to not only go to Jerusalem to worship God, but we're on mission as a church. And so once we get done with this series, we're going to get into the book of Acts and learn what it was like to be a young church. And that's kind of who we are. We're a replant. And so that book there is going to give us the DNA of a young and vibrant church. Okay, so we're halfway there, and so this psalm here is a psalm of adjustments. We're halfway into the job of getting better and growing. And how do you make the necessary adjustments? So this psalm is that, adjustments. So I'm going to go ahead and read it to you. Psalm 127 is a beautiful psalm. So open up your hearts, open up your ears, take this in, and we'll make some comments on the psalm. Psalm 127 says, "Unless the Lord builds the house, those who build it labor in vain. Unless the Lord watches over the city, the watchman stays awake in vain. It is in vain that you rise up early and go late to rest, eating the bread of anxious toil, for he gives to his beloved sleep. Behold, children are a heritage from the Lord. The fruit of the womb a reward. Like arrows in the hand of a warrior are the children of one's youth. Blessed is a man who fills his quiver with them. He shall not be put to shame when he speaks with his enemies in the gate." Today I want to talk to you about, just here briefly, about making an adjustment of realizing that sometimes we can get into a state of hypervigilance. Are you guys familiar with that term? Hypervigilance. We all want to be vigilant. We want to be attentive, conscientious, hardworking, right? And this is what a person who has who cares about something is going to be. You're going to be vigilant, right? But sometimes we can get into a state of hypervigilance, which is not good. Hypervigilance is you're caring too much. You're doing too much. You're stressing yourself out. And sometimes in life, you're halfway into a job and you're realizing, I got to back up off this thing, man. This is starting to stress me out. I'm trying too hard. I got to back down here. I got to catch my breath. And so, I believe this psalm, Psalm 127, is a psalm for those who have become hyper vigilant. Anybody with me? Sometimes, man, I care. I care. And sometimes that's my fault. Because I care too much. And I work too hard. And I overextend myself. Physically, sometimes even emotionally. And I need to make the adjustments. So, some of the things that we get hypervigilant about, of course, paying our bills, funding a retirement account, affording college, getting out of debt. Sometimes it's losing a relationship. We get too vigilant in relationships. Sometimes it's losing our health. Probably anything that threatens our sense of security can make us feel vulnerable. Right? And so we will do whatever we need to do to protect ourselves. We will work hard because that will never happen to me. Hi, Charlie. Hi. So we become hard workers because we have fears and concerns. We have vulnerabilities, and that will never happen to us. And so we do whatever we need to do to make sure that will never happen. So in this psalm, Psalm 127, we have this image of building a city, building a home, building a family. And can we get hypervigilant about those things? So if you're going to do any of those things, the last thing you want to become is destitute or vulnerable. A lot is on the line. And so we will do whatever we need to do to make sure that doesn't happen. You guys ever see that movie Nemo? It's about 20 years old now. Came out in 2003. What's that? Oh, that's right. Finding Nemo. Yeah, Finding Nemo. 2003, it came out. And so here we are, Audrey and I watching this movie, and we were pregnant with our first child. I bawled like a baby. I came out of the movie, I knew that was going to be me. What's the dad's name? Marlon. Was he hypervigilant?
Yes.
Because he wanted to make sure, right? Things were good. You know, things had already happened, and he didn't want that to happen again. And so he felt vulnerable, and I just knew. You know, I'm not caring. It's my strength, but it's also my weakness. Because I care too much. And I just knew I would have to watch being a Marlin. You know, and then when our kids came along, I had to realize I can overextend myself. I can do too much. I can overparent. You know, I can belabor a point because I'm trying to teach my kids, and I do too much. I go too far. So I knew at that point this was one of my proclivities, my weaknesses. working hard and feeling on edge. That's my weakness. Just wanted to make sure nothing bad will happen. And nothing bad will happen if I just really work hard. That's what this song talks to. So, if you feel like you got the weight of the world resting on your shoulders, that's what we're talking about. I think if we were to take this psalm and just boil it down, it would be this. Would you just relax? Would you just take a breath and relax? Don't act as though the world is resting on your shoulders, as if it all depends upon you. Yes, we should all work hard. But just remember, it's at the final estimation is not going to be your achievement. It's not all about that. Yes, it does require work, but it's not all about you. So we're talking about being carefree. But it doesn't mean being careless. And that's the concern. I'm a careful person and I don't want to be careless. But if I relaxed, would I just, no, it's carefree. Carefree. There's a difference. Okay? We want to arrive to a place that we're carefree. Without care. I don't have a care in the world. But it doesn't mean I'm careless. How do you find that balance? I think this psalm helps us. It says here, verse 1 and 2, look at this here. Unless the Lord builds a house, those who build it labor in vain. Unless the Lord watches over the city, the watchman stays awake in vain. It is in vain that you rise up early and go late to rest, eating the bread of anxious toil. For he gives to his beloved sleep. So there's three gifts. If I could look into this psalm, there's three gifts, two stated and one implied in the psalm. One of them is sleep. Can I get an amen? Amen. Amen. Sleep is a gift. And for a guy like me, who can be a bit overzealous, I'm working on projects, I want to get it done, I'm push. I can stay up late. I'm a night owl because I like to get stuff done. Especially as a father of, now I don't have three small kids. When they were small, finally they're in bed, I can get something done. Right? So once they go to bed, my day begins. Whatever I wanted to get done, I can do that now. So stay up to 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock if I'm really pushing. And sometimes you pull an all-nighter because you're really trying to get something done. And then you start breaking down your health. Because you're not getting sleep. And anytime I feel like, as a pastor, I'm dealing with somebody who is overextended, stressed out, just swirling in a whirlpool of emotion, oftentimes I think the greatest ministry I can afford is say, you need a nap. You need to get some sleep. Let's talk about this when you're a little bit more fresh. Sleep is a gift. It's not to be neglected. God has made us, I kind of had the notion growing up that as people, we are spirits. We're spiritual people. That we have a soul, emotions, intellect, intellect, those kinds of things are our soul. But we live in a physical body. The real person is the spirit man. I've moved away from that view. I think we're integrated. Spirit, soul, body, and you take one of those pieces out of there, we're not who we are. We're not who we're meant to be. So your body is crucial. in your well-being and your health. And so we need to take good care of our bodies. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
Sometimes we want to neglect our body because we're doing spiritual things, but spiritual things can be very much a physical thing. Sleep. You know, it's a pre-fall condition. Adam and Eve slept before the fall. It's not because of the fall. And I wonder, I don't know, the Bible doesn't say, will we be sleeping after? After the resurrection? It's an interesting concept. So sleep is a gift. It's interesting that God says, hey, 8 hours out of the day, which is a third of your life, I want you to go in there and just get out of the way. I want you to go to sleep. I want you to go completely limp. I want you to go unconscious for a third of your life. And we just read Psalm 121. Anna could preach. It says, God never sleeps. He never slumbers. It says, I'll take the night shift. Go get out of the way. I got this. And sometimes daytime can make us suppose that we are in control. But nighttime is a reminder that we can relinquish our grip on life. Relinquish our grip on jobs and projects and people and tasks. I'm not done yet. You don't need to be done. Go in there and get a nap. Go in there and go to sleep. Go completely conscious. I've got it. We need to hear that. God says, I've got it. I've got it. Relax. Relax. We all have our Sunday morning faces on, but when we go home, we all need to hear that word. I've got it. So sleep is the number one gift. The second gift that I see in this passage is, you know, children.
How do you sleep with children?
That's true. That's I'm going to take that up with the Lord, man. How does this happen?
That's why it's a gift.
Two gifts that kind of conflict against each other. The second gift here is children. Look at verse 3. Children are a heritage from the Lord. A heritage. The fruit of the womb, a reward. Children. So one of the reasons for not getting sleep and one of the reasons for not having children is the idea is I can't afford it. Some people get into that, I can't go to sleep right now. I can't afford it. I can't have children right now. I can't afford it. And so we get into this idea that it's this hypervigilance gets us into a place that we're not relaxing, we're not trusting. And sometimes, that might be a legitimate reason. I can't afford that right now. That's legitimate. But sometimes it can be a sign that you think that life and even your children depend upon you. And if that's the case, relax. It's interesting, it says here that the children are arrows. Okay? And you shoot them out. I mean, you lose control when you got them in the quiver, and you keep them in the quiver. No, take them on the string and pull. Release them. And again, if we're hyper-vigilant, you'll never take them out of the quiver. But that's what children were meant to do. Marlon had to take his little fishy and let him go, right, at the appropriate time. So that God knows how to take care of the children. Much better than you can. Much better than we can. So they are gifts, not projects. We can't just keep them and obsess about them and get our fingers and knuckles and into their life. We gotta take them and launch them, release them. They've been a blessing to us, but we're gonna release them, right? So, lest we get proud of any of our accomplishments, this psalm is all about building. Right? Building a home, building a family. It could even be about building a church, building a community, building a business, building a retirement account. These can never be viewed as our achievements. All these things, gifts, graciously bestowed upon us. So this psalm helps us stay in the right mental place, so that we take our hands off of micromanaging and over controlling and realizing these things are gifts to enjoy. Either it will be God or it will come to nothing. Whatever you put your hands to, either it's going to be God or it's going to come to nothing. You can work as hard as you want to, and it will come to nothing. Jesus said in John 15, he says that I am the vine, you're the branches. Whoever abides in me and I in him, she it is that bears much fruit. For apart from me, you can do nothing. You can build that house, but if you build it on the sand, the winds will come, the rains will fall, and great will be its destruction. You can build a beautiful life, a beautiful business, a beautiful family, but if God is not at the foundation of that, it will all be nothing. God will ultimately make our efforts succeed. So yes, work hard, but relax. Don't act as if life all depends upon you. It doesn't. Take a deep breath. Let's go. God's got my family. Yes, I'm going to work. I'm going to cooperate with God. But at the end of the day, it's not me. So the weight is off my shoulders. And it's onto his shoulders. I can live a carefree life. And that's God's heart for us. And the third gift, that's not stated in the text, but I think it is implied, is this whole notion of prayer. Prayer is a gift. It's saying, man, I am dependent. I can't do life on my own. And if I realize that, prayer makes complete sense. God is with me. God is for me. God is on my right hand and on my left. He's going before me. And if God is with me, who can be against me? And so prayer is saying that I can't do life on my own, and I don't even want to try. Prayer. So here we are, replanting a church, rebuilding a church. We've been through a pandemic and all this stuff. And, we can do everything right, get all the strategies, work really hard. But if God built not the house, we labor in vain. So I would, from this passage, I think it's important for us to realize that the greatest thing we could be as a church is a praying church. If we're not praying, we're doing it on our own. You hear me? We want to be a praying church, not just collectively, although we want to do that. That's Sunday nights. Okay, so the first Sunday night of the month, we set aside for prayer. That's not going to be tonight, because it's just, 4th of July is tomorrow. We're not going to do that tonight. Okay. But on July 10th, I would invite you to come out. Okay? If you want to know if a church if it has Jesus as the main attraction, look at its prayer meeting. I would love for our prayer meeting to be one of the focal points of our ministry. So if you can, consider coming out on a Sunday evening. Even before church, we have prayer as well. But prayer just says we can't do it on our own. We have a mission strategy we printed up, and that's not going to happen if we don't stay in prayer. I want to grow in prayer. I've been growing in prayer, and I hope that you have been too. Let's continue to press in and just declare our utter dependency. And not just daily, but hourly on prayer. Pray constantly. Always stay in the spirit of prayer. Either it will be God or it will come to nothing. Our efforts will be for naught to prayer. So we can do everything right. We can work harder than anybody else. But if we don't stay in that dependent place of prayer, we won't see the results we've been going for. We got communion here. Who's supposed to hand this out? Well, thank you.